All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the dining etiquette portion of the program today. My name is Carmen Binder. I'm an assistant director of residence life, but I've had the opportunity to receive the training and certification to be a certified etiquette trainer. And so today I get to talk with you a little bit about the standpoint of a young professional in the field, potentially with an interview over a meal. So I want you to just relax and enjoy yourself. And if we were in person, know that you would be enjoying maybe a 3-course meal, maybe to come at another time. But we do these things because honestly, the more confident you are, the more comfortable those around you will feel. For example, I had a student who attended an etiquette dinner who thought, I may never use this information ever. This person was getting a degree in media and ended up within a couple years after graduation was invited to a black tie event with the Kansas City Chiefs. So you just never know. You just never know when information like this could come in handy. Personally, for me, I have 2 general rules. So if you were to remember nothing else, please remember these 2. One is I try not to draw any unnecessary attention to myself. And I would ask that you do the same. Please do not draw any unnecessary attention to yourself. And then 2, I would break any rule to make those around me feel comfortable. Okay. So again, if we were in person, anything that is a minimum of 4 courses is considered fine dining, but good manners apply no matter what. So again, if we were in person, we'd have probably at least 3 courses together. And they would be probably like a salad, a main course, and a dessert. Often what you may see in fine dining, you may see a soup, a sorbet, a salad, a main course, and a dessert. And one of the first things you're going to do, though, is you're going to take your cue from your corporate host. So example, if you were sitting, this is I would tell you, it's a little bit fancier than my dinner table at home, okay? So some people may wonder, like, I don't even know where to begin or what would be mine. I wouldn't do this in an interview, but for you kind of mentally in the future, you take your 4 fingers and put them on your thumbs and you have a B and a D. So for example, if we were sitting here at place setting number 21, you would see over here to your left would be your bread plate with your butter knife. You have 2 forks here, your napkin, your knives, and then so your B and a D. And the D here is for your drinks. And then everything in front of you then would be yours. So one of the first things you're going to do, you're going to notice that's a fine cloth napkin in front of you. So you take your napkin, you're going to unfold it and fold it so that you have the fold towards the center of towards your belly button and scoot up to the table. I often find that people have a lot of space between themselves and the table, and it allows more opportunity to spill down the front. So scoot up to the table, and then, like I said, you're going to take your cue from the corporate host. The first course potentially could be a soup, and your soup, the bowl may very well be served to you on a plate. And so that's meant to be used. One of the general rules is if you have, anytime your utensil touches your mouth and your food, please do not put it back onto the tablecloth. So that plate would be then, used. You can, once the soup spoon is in your mouth, you can put that then, rest that spoon on that plate. Okay. Introductions. I know sometimes people will avoid making introductions because it can be a little nerve-wracking. You might be sometimes not sure whose name to say first or what that looks like. So I would advise, if you're in the position, always make introductions as opposed to not. Okay. And you can always use this is. You'll want to start with the person that you are honoring or the person outside of your organization. So for example, if the president of your university was coming to a student organization meeting, you would say the president's name first because they're a guest to your organization's meeting. Okay, so start that. You can also think of this as you're being at home. You open the door to your guest. You're going to say that person's name first. I always try to say the person's name twice, and that way both parties can hear the person's name at least twice. Always stand. If you're being introduced, as you're making introductions, always stand to shake the person's hand. Now, of course, right now, there's not a lot of that going on. But when we get back to that point, when I do think handshakes are very much going to be a part of our normal lives, I'm hopefully soon. Again, always stand to shake hands. And what you're looking for is the web of your hand to interlock with the web of the other person's hand. and just a couple, 2 or 3 pumps, and then let go. Again, handshakes can say a lot about a person. You're not trying to strong arm the person or put your hand on top as a power move. They can say a lot. They can say a lot about you. So again, brief, couple 2, 3 pumps, and then let go. Okay. You can also introduce yourself to someone, anyone, as a matter of fact, at any given time. So you don't have to wait to be introduced. So for example, if you are in an interview and then people, several people are coming to sit down and have dinner with you, you can introduce yourself to those people. You don't have to wait for an introduction. And it's pretty easy to even just start with, how do you do? I'm Carmen Binder. So again, I would stand and shake hands. Although of course you're going to use your name and not mine. Right now, people have asked me, okay, so there's not a lot of handshaking going on. What's a good alternative? I do think you want to take an opportunity to acknowledge the person's presence. So even if that's, cupping your hands together and kind of extending them out is just fine. Kind of a nod, just acknowledging the person's presence is very important. But like I said, I do believe handshakes, I think they'll be coming back. It may take a little bit, but they'll be coming back. So in an opportunity like this, if you have several people seated around the table with you during this interview, if you have 8 or fewer people total at the table, you will wait until everyone gets their food before you start eating. Now, if there are 9 or more, I would recommend that you wait until at least a few people around you have their food. You don't want to look like the most ravenous person at the table. So again, it's just good manners to wait until at least several other people have their food as well. You'll want to start, as you may very well know, you'll start with the fork on the outside and then move your way in. So for example, the fork on the far outside probably is a salad fork as an example. And then the fork closest to you then would be closest to the center of the table, then would be your fork for your main course. Salt and pepper, they're not, as you notice on this table example, not on the table. Oftentimes they are. If somebody asks for salt or pepper, they do get passed together. And typically they get passed clockwise or to the right. However, you can use common sense. And if the person immediately to your left is asking for the salt or pepper, you don't have to send it all the way around the table. Same thing with bread. There's a bread basket on the table. Before you take some for you, you'll want to offer to the people around you. And then again, if somebody's asking for the bread bowl or the bread basket, you pass that along to the right. Okay. When ordering, you will want to not necessarily order the most expensive thing on the menu, but you also don't have to order the most inexpensive thing either. And it gets kind of tricky if you, usually the host will order last. So you can't always rely on, have what they're having because you may not know yet. The host typically orders last. It's okay to ask for suggestions. It's okay to ask the wait staff what they recommend. But again, and please don't order something that you're not familiar with either. But it's always okay to ask the host or the wait staff for suggestions. I do have for you a quick video to kind of highlight here what a sorbet might look like. I kind of get a kick out of this video. So let me share this with you real quickly.
Thank you.
Between the courses to cleanse the palate. Yep. She will.
She didn't realize it was frozen.
What should we do?
Well, we should take that much too. Just do the same thing.
You're acting like monkeys.
I love that as an example because, well, a couple things. One, can I get an idea of what a sorbet might be like? It is cold, typically. They're very small servings. And I do that because I love the illustration there of those dignitaries were willing to, again, break any rule to help the princess feel comfortable. So I like using that as an example. When you think of an interview over a meal, just to let you know, when you're talking maybe a lunch, you can expect easily 10 to 15 minutes of, quote unquote, small talk before your food arrives. And with a dinner, you could potentially expect 30 minutes of small talk before your interview really gets started and before your food comes. And so what I would recommend, what I always tell people would be to come ready and equipped very comfortably to talk with people that you may not know very well. And a way to do that is to have some very open-ended conversation starter. So for example, who, again, you're going to notice a lot of the who, what, when, where type of questions, but who is their mentor? What obstacles did this person overcome? What are they most proud of? How did they get started in this line of business? Where did they go to school? You may want to, instead of asking, where are you from? You can ask, what was it like where you grew up? Or what type of projects are you working on these days? Those types of open-ended questions really allow for a conversation to get started. And fun fact, I think I read this somewhere, we spend months and months of our lives talking about the weather. So I would try to avoid the weather. It's a safe go-to, especially in the Midwest. It's usually pretty interesting, but I would go with maybe something has a little more depth to it. So again, who is their mentor? What obstacles did they overcome? What are they most proud of? How did they get started in this line of business? Where did they go to school? I can tell you no one ever listened themselves out of a job. Okay, so if you find that you're doing a lot of the talking, it's okay to stop, take a breath, acknowledge it, and then ask an open-ended question, okay? Some other things I would recommend is to be sincere in your compliments and not to negate them when they come your way. As well, we can prepare all day long. We can feel so confident, so comfortable, but there's a chance, there always is, that you may spill something, drop something, say the wrong thing. And what I would recommend to you is that if you find yourself in a position where you do need to apologize, say it one time, be sincere about it, and then move on. Because I think we can tell a lot about a person and how well and how quickly they recover. So don't sit there stewing over it, beat yourself up over it. Just let it go and move on. Because it'll say a lot about your character, about how you move on. I will tell you a lot, especially in business, again, pre-COVID, companies would take prospective employees to lunch or to dinner. They want to really see how you may interact with their clients. Really, how well are you going to represent their company or their organization? And I've read of articles where somebody who's doing the hiring would go to a restaurant and ask the wait staff to deliberately mess it up. Bring the wrong food, bring it completely, or something completely messed up, because they want to see how you're going to handle it. So again, it really, you're not drawing unnecessary attention to yourself, but being graceful always. You cannot go wrong. But always treating the wait staff with respect is incredibly important. It says a lot. It'll say a lot about you. General rules too. We are a lot more relaxed as a society than we used to be. It used to be things were very, very formal, and we're a little bit more relaxed. Matter of fact, you may even have like appetizers and drinks with a potential employer at some point in your career. So again, we're a lot more relaxed. But some things to consider: if you can cut your food with a fork, it's okay to do so. Something you'll also want to consider is, some of us know this about ourselves, if we typically eat faster or slower. You may want to stay more in pace with the people around you. Again, not drawing unnecessary attention to yourself. With bread, you take it, you break it, and you butter it one bite at a time. And again, always being aware that you're offering the bread basket to the person to your left before taking it for yourself. When you have an opportunity to that point where you're ready to get your first business cards, it's worthwhile to invest in a business card holder. You would please do not try to give out a card that is soiled or bent or ripped. Again, it says a lot about you. And business cards do not get distributed over a meal. Okay, it's just a typical rule there. Please do not do that. You'll want to leave, and you may very well know this, leave your cell phone in the car. And truly, unless you're waiting on a kidney, I mean, please leave it, just leave it in the car. It's not worth the distraction. Even on vibrate, it can be distracting, and it's not worth it. You can carry either a briefcase or a handbag, but please not both. And please never put them on the table. Okay. You may be at a fine restaurant where they check your coat and your bag when you arrive. When you do get a job, because you will get a job, when you're invited to your employer's home for either a dinner or a drink, something along those lines, it's called a command performance. They do expect you to go. One thing I would recommend is that you not overstay. So for example, if they say we're going to have dinner from 6 to 8, please do not arrive too early, and please do not stay past 8 p.m. Those are kind of the parameters within that. But when they invite you, it's an expectation that you go. With this, you'll notice on your screen, we have 2 plates in front of us here. There are a couple different ways, and we're probably all very familiar with the American style of eating. This would be for your main course, where you have your knife and your fork. And typically what we do is we use our dominant hand to cut whatever it might be. And then we put our either trade hands or put the knife down with tines up, then food into the mouth. It's called the American, many of us are familiar with this, the American style of eating. The screen here on the picture on the left, it would express to the waitstaff that you are still eating, and please don't take your plate just yet. And then the plate on the right would express to the waitstaff that you are finished. So again, a lot of us are very familiar with this style of eating. What I would recommend, if you have an opportunity to do so, is to try something a little bit different, where there is a continental or a European style of eating, which involves not changing hands. So for example, you would cut your food the same way as American style, but instead of putting your knife down and then putting your fork in your dominant hand, the fork stays in your non-dominant hand and the food goes into your mouth with the fork tines down. It's a little more efficient way of eating, but you'll notice again, the inverted V will tell that waitstaff that you're resting, so please don't take your plate just yet. And then the screen there, the plate on the right says, expresses to the waitstaff that you are done. Again, kind of a 10-4 position with tines down. So it's what you'll find if you were to travel out of the country. A lot of other places, that's the style that they eat. Then along that line as well, something to mention if you're to the point where you're traveling abroad, it's very worthwhile to look into the customs practices of other countries. Just because something's polite here does not necessarily make it so in a different country. So it's worthwhile to take the time to learn a little bit more about the country that you're traveling to. You can cut with both the continental and the American. You can cut 3 bites at a time. It's pretty customary. Again, not trying to draw attention to yourself. And you'll notice with both styles, the knife blade is towards the center of the plate. And that dates back, there's a long time ago. People would consider others dangerous if they had the knife blade facing out. So knife blade, we'll notice for both, a knife blade stays in toward the plate. One thing I can tell you, one thing I would highly recommend, please do not, even if everyone around you at the table is having an alcoholic beverage, please refrain, especially on your first interview. It's just not worth it. And if you can feel free to order something non-alcoholic from the bar, if that would make you feel a bit more comfortable. But if you are not a drinker, or if you, especially on the first interview, please refrain from doing that. Now, if it's second or third interview, and everybody around you is drinking, they ask you if you wanted to have one, but I would not have more than one. Again, it's not where you want to be remembered. You want to be very much in control of yourself in that instance. You'll know that the dinner is starting to wrap up and wind down a little bit. So even from some of the nonverbal cues that the host will send. So for example, they may take their napkin from their lap and put it on the table. They maybe even just kind of visibly push themselves away from the table a little bit. And that kind of sends you the signal that they are kind of winding down. You will want to take an opportunity to send a thank you card in the mail within 24 hours after the dinner is over. If you know they're making a decision rather quickly, an email to the people who hosted you and to everyone there, one email is just fine, but I would still it's very worthwhile to follow up with a handwritten thank you card. In a position like this, if you're invited to a dinner and an interview, you are not expected to pay. So you don't have to kind of do that awkward, that moment of like, ooh, whose bill is it going to be? It's not yours. And if it is yours, they should express that well in advance. And then also tells you a little bit of something about that company as well. They offered you the interview. They're usually the one that's going to pay. A couple questions that I've typically asked. If you have something like gristle, you have something in your mouth that you don't want in there, you can use these 3 fingers to remove the food from your mouth. Sometimes people will joke that's one of the benefits of having either a bread plate or something along those lines. You can put it there and out of the way. And again, as long as you're not drawing unnecessary attention to it, somebody may not even notice. Okay. If you do get up from the table, you know you have to use a restroom, or if you know that you're going to have to sneeze, it's okay to get up and excuse yourself from the table. You do not have to let anybody know where you're going or what you're going to take care of. You can just excuse yourself. And with your napkin, you'll want to fold it. Clearly, the hope is that you've been using it. You want to use your napkin. You'll fold it in such a way that any food or any particles are not showing, and you'll put it on the table. Okay. And that's something I forgot to mention earlier. With your drinks, you'll always want to dab your lips with your napkin before you take a drink. So again, you don't have anything on the glass that could be relatively offensive to anybody else around you. Okay. If you drop something on the floor, a knife, fork, your napkin, whatever it might be, it's okay in a restaurant to get the attention of a wait staff member and ask for a new one. If, however, you're in your supervisor's home, you'll want to clean up after yourself. So please do that and pick up after yourself there. I will tell you that, like I've mentioned before, manners, they go a long way. Again, if you may very well make a mistake, try to recover from it quickly. Don't beat yourself up. But I think it says a lot about us and how we treat people and your fit potentially within an organization, how you treat not only people who are interviewing you, but the wait staff at the restaurant. So be gracious would be something that I would recommend. And Emily Post said, manners are a sensitive awareness of the feelings of others. If you have that awareness, you have good manners, no matter which fork you use. So I'd like to end there and just tell you all, I wish you all luck with this, and hopefully we'll be getting back to this soon where we can do these things in person. But in the meantime, though, I wish you all the luck. So thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate it.